The Jewish Channel's Week in Review. Democrats lost the House, but how many Jewish seats traded hands Tuesday? A star-studded celebration of Jewish charity, protesting a kosher factory's labor practices, and more of the Jewish news that's changing your world on this episode of the Week in Review. Hello, and welcome to the Jewish Channel's Week in Review. I'm Stephen I. Weiss. Have Jews peaked? It seems so, at least in Congress. After a record-high quantity of Jews in the recent Congress, Tuesday's elections dropped that number a bit lower, though one Jew in Congress just became a lot more prominent. 2 Senate seats occupied by Jews won't be any more come January. Wisconsin's 18-year incumbent Russ Feingold lost to Ron Johnson, and Pennsylvania's Arlen Specter will officially be replaced by Pat Toomey. Both Jewish senators are Democrats, though Specter only recently switched over from the Republican Party. There will be one new Jewish senator, also a Democrat. Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut beat wrestling executive Linda McMahon and will join Joe Lieberman in representing that state. In one tightly contested race in the Senate, the recently appointed Michael Bennet of Colorado retained his seat against Republican challenger Ken Buck. In all, that brings the number of Jewish senators down from 14 to 12. In the House of Representatives, some Jewish seats were lost, though some were also gained. 2 sitting Jewish Democrats lost in Florida, Palm Beach County's Ron Klein and the Orlando area's Alan Grayson. A Jewish Democrat in Wisconsin, 2-term incumbent Steve Kagan, lost to Reed Ribble, and New Jersey Democrat John Adler, who was elected in the Democratic Party's wave of 2008, lost his seat to former NFL football player John Runyon. In New Hampshire, Jewish Democrat Paul Hodes vacated his House seat to run for Senate and lost. But there were also some gains. In Rhode Island, the recent mayor of Providence, a gay Italian-Jewish man named David Cicilline, is set to become a new Democratic member of Congress, replacing Patrick Kennedy. He's the 3rd openly gay member of Congress. The other 2, Barney Frank and Jared Polis, are also Jewish. And the number of Jewish Republicans in Congress doubled after Tuesday night. While there had only been 1 Jewish Republican in this past Congress, Virginia Representative Eric Cantor, there are now 2, with the victory of Nan Hayworth of upstate New York. And Cantor himself faces a larger role. As minority whip in the House for the Republicans, he stands to hold a significant leadership within the new Republican majority and is widely assumed to be taking on the role of majority leader that under the recent Democratic Congress was held by Steny Hoyer. Add it all up, and Jewish representatives dropped from 32 seats in the House to 29, with 5 losses and 2 gains. Combined with Jewish senators, the total Jewish representation in Congress is now 41, a drop from a total of 45. That count could change slightly, as one 2-term Democratic incumbent who's Jewish, Arizona's Gabrielle Giffords, was in a race that was still too close to call as of late this week. There's more to this than straight numbers, though, particularly when it comes to Jews holding leadership positions in Congress. As noted before, Virginia's Eric Cantor will now have a key leadership role. But Democrats who will no longer hold committee leadership positions include a long list of Jewish members. For only 2 more months, Massachusetts' Barney Frank is chair of the Banking Committee, California's Henry Waxman is chair of the Commerce and Energy Committee, California's Howard Berman is chair of Foreign Affairs, and Nita Lowey is chair of the Foreign Operations Subcommittee within Appropriations. One thing many observers of the Jewish political scene will want to know is about the performance of J Street, the left-wing Israel lobbying group. Here at the Jewish Channel, we've crunched the numbers, and here they are. Upon initial inspection, J Street can claim a solid performance. All 3 Senate endorsees lost, but their record in the House was 44 wins and 11 losses. However, those victories in the House include many where the Republican challenge was relatively insignificant, and one district with no Republican challenger at all. When we reassembled the data to include only those races in which there was a significant Republican challenge, where the Democrat either lost or won with a margin of less than 10%, the numbers look worse for J Street. In a total of 26 races where a J Street endorsee faced a significant Republican challenge, the candidates had 10 wins to 14 losses, with 2 more races too close to call as of late this week. So, with the deck stacked with many easily winning candidates, J Street did have a rosy picture overall, but in races where Democrats faced a significant challenge, J Street's endorsees won less than half the time. If you'd like to see more details on this, please stop by our news blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. Moving on to a separate story involving a woman who gave up politics to try to help others. Former New York mayoral candidate Ruth Messinger and the organization she heads, the American Jewish World Service, had important anniversaries last week. Rebecca Honig-Friedman reports.
Last year, American Jewish World Service gave away more than $22 million in grants to 458 organizations in 34 different countries. That really throws a wrench in the Jews are cheap premise.
That quip by comedian Sarah Silverman is part of a humorous, star-studded video by Judd Apatow and Jordan Rubin in support of the American Jewish World Service, or AJWS, a nonprofit that funds grassroots organizations in the developing world who work for human rights, social justice, and economic development in their local communities. The video, which you may have seen online, had its world premiere at a benefit for AJWS in New York last week, where the organization celebrated two important milestones: its 25th year in existence and the 70th birthday of its longtime president, Ruth Messinger, a force behind AJWS growth over the last 12 years.
We've grown the organization from 2.8 million to 42 million in the last 12 years.
The gala celebration, which included a dinner buffet and performances from the cast of the Broadway show Fela,
You don't understand, I grew up ashamed of my color,
and the African Children's Choir, brought in another $1.4 million for AJWS, which, as Messenger told the crowd of 800 guests, recently granted its $100 millionth to grassroots organizations in the developing world. Messenger paid tribute to AJWS founder Larry Phillips for enabling that accomplishment.
Because of Larry Phillips, who has now rejoined the American Jewish World Service Board, we are helping to save hundreds of thousands of lives.
To hear more about the work of AJWS and what these celebrities had to say about Ruth Messinger on her 70th birthday, tune in to the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Rebecca. Moving on to a story where Jews are on opposite sides of a discussion of how to do good. A labor dispute at a Hasidic-owned factory has one Orthodox group organizing. Christian Neenan reports.
The factory for Pflaum's Appetizing Corporation is facing protest over its labor practices after it ignored a ruling requiring it to reinstate terminated employees and pay back wages. Groups affiliated with the workers are calling for a boycott, and on Monday night, 3 Pflaum's workers stated their case to a group of Orthodox Jews organized by Uriel Tzedek, which advocates for better working conditions in kosher businesses. Daniel Gross from Focus on the Food Chain sat beside the Spanish-speaking workers and translated as they told a mixed-age Orthodox audience about working conditions in the Brooklyn plant, and spoke about how interpretation of Jewish doctrine by Hasidic owner Moshe Gronhut is affecting the situation.
We've been advised that there's a concept that some people in Mr. Grudhut, the owner's community, that even if there is something terrible, even if there's poison in the water, even if there's just something horrible, it's not appropriate to reach out to any kind of secular force outside the community. That's been difficult. One thing that actually already helped me understand, I don't remember the word, but a couple times it came up that our flyers didn't have a rabbinic seal, and therefore whatever was said on our flyers, which all we do is basically, cite what a judge found in a 2009 opinion after a lengthy trial, we cite that, but that doesn't carry weight with some folks in Mr. Grudhut's community because it lacked a rabbinic seal.
A 19-page ruling by the National Labor Relations Board found unfair termination, compensation, and management practices at the Pflaum's plant and called for restitution to workers and changed policies going forward. Workers now allege that Pflaum's isn't cooperating with the ruling. Pflaum's, whose kosher-certified products can be found on many store shelves, didn't respond to multiple inquiries from TJC requesting comment. But other members of the Satmar Hasidic community to which the owner belongs did speak to Uriel Tzedek co-founder Ari Hart when he marched in the Satmar enclave of Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Court order that he pay a certain amount of money. They're just asking that he pay what the court asks, what the court ordered. Nothing extra. They're not trying to hurt Moish. They're just asking that Moish pay what Moish owes. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of very conflicting, mixed feelings about being there. It was a very strange experience in a lot of ways for me as an Orthodox Jew, different Orthodox community. But one thing I was actually pleasantly surprised about was that a lot of people wanted to hear. I met, Satmar Hasidim on the street who were curious. Now, not saying that they 100% bought in. They were like, yes, we're going to go march with you next time. But they wanted to know what was going on, and they wanted to hear the story, and they wanted to talk and engage with it. So I think it's, an open question. I think we have to think about how we engage with other communities to the right and to the left of us.
To hear about the theological issues involved in this case, please tune into the full broadcast version of the Week in Review.
Thank you, Christian. That's all for this week. For more news and analysis from the Jewish Channel during the week, please check out our blog at newsdesk.tjctv.com. From all of us here at the Jewish Channel, be well. The Jewish Channel is available on cable: IO Optimum Cable Channel 291, Time Warner Cable Channel 528, RCN Channel 268, Verizon Fios Channel 900, and Cox Cable Channel 1. For more information, visit tjctv.com.